Hi, welcome to Camp Happy Meal. I'm Maureen and I'm glad you could join me today. So today I'm going to show you how to make a quick and easy card out of images that you may already have colored. This right here is my big box of already colored images. Several years ago, I decided I wanted to learn how to color with Copic markers. I picked up some markers not really knowing how the Copic system worked. I did figure it out eventually, but I needed something to color, so I went to Pinterest and I did a search for free digital images, and I downloaded a bunch of them and printed them out. And then I also went through my stamp sets and through some pattern paper I had that was black and white illustrations, and I just accumulated a huge stash of images to color. And then every night when my husband and I would be sitting watching TV, I will pull out my little box of images and my markers, and I would color and color and color. And eventually I ended up with this whole big box full of pre-colored images. Some of these date back to 2016, 2017. That's roughly whenever I was learning how to color with Copics. This image right here that I'm going to go ahead and use on today's card was an actual digital image that I found on Pinterest. I don't have a source for it. I think it's okay if you download the free images and print them out and use them for cards, as long as you're not selling those cards, because you could encounter copyright issues if you do sell something that may have a copyright to it that you're not aware of. This one didn't have a source to it. And so I've just decided I'm going to go ahead and use this one. So that stamp set right there, that's a stamp set by Mama Elephant. It's called Rainy Days, and we're just going to use the sentiment off of that for today. So the cardstock that I'm using is just standard Michael's Recollections cardstock. I tried to pick colors that would match the colors that were used on the colored image, and this was as close as I could get. And really, I'm gonna just do some basic matting of this, just super simple. Sometimes I think the hardest part of cards like this is trying to decide which color you want for the background, and then which one for any mats that you might want to put on it. And quite honestly, whenever I make cards, unless I'm using a die to actually cut out the mat for the background, I really do just eyeball it. I mean, I know that the basic background for the front panel is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So that's real easy to cut without a die. But any layers that I might do in between, I really do just eyeball them. I don't go for perfection. That's not what it's about for me. So we're going to go ahead and put this yellow piece down. I use Barely Art's glue. I'm testing this glue out right now. I normally use Art Glitter glue, but I've had some issues recently with the tip of it clogging, and also the fact that I can't get it shipped up to the Northeast in the wintertime. That's also an issue. I didn't have an issue getting the Barely Arts sent to me in the middle of winter. So I thought I would give it a try because I can get it all year round, and so far I'm having good luck. I'm not having any issues with the tips clogging. Okay, and then for the actual image, I did decide to go ahead and trim this using a die. I was a little bit leery about eyeballing this one myself and getting the edges straight on it and to have enough space. And I kind of wanted a decorative border around it as well. And that die there is it's a stitched rectangle die by Fawn. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the Sizzix. This is a Big Shot. This is the manual die cut machine that I use. I do have a scan and cut that I sometimes use, but for simple things like this, I like to use the Big Shot. So we're just going to hold that die in place because I don't want it to move. I would like for it to stay straight and where I put it at so that I have room for the sentiment. So we're just going to hold that down with a little bit of mint tape. Okay, so now we're going to pop this die cut out of the die, and I sometimes have trouble getting the paper out of these dies. These dies are very, very well loved. They were probably some of the first dies that I ever bought, and I use them on just about every card. If you have any tips for easily getting the die cuts out of the die, please leave me some comments below about that. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment on this. I decided that rather than just stamping my sentiment in black ink, that I wanted to heat emboss it. Heat embossing gives your sentiment a raised up feel to it, and it also gives it a little bit of a glossy shine, which is a nice little added touch. You don't have to do this, and I certainly don't do it on every card just because it's extra steps and extra tools, but sometimes I do just like to put a little extra something on the cards, especially a card like this that's really kind of very simple, and you could call it plain. The coloring is not so plain, but this just gives it a little bit of extra something to it. So the ink that I'm going to use is the Altenew Crisp ink. It's the Jet Black, and I'll be using the Gina K Clear embossing powder. What I just put on there, that was using an anti-static powder tool. So if you use that, then the embossing powder won't stick to your card base. It'll only stick to the ink that you stamp down. So that's the main reason for the anti-static tool. So we're going to ink that up, and then using the Misti door, we're going to press that down. Now you don't have to apply a lot of pressure to this because you do have the ability to stamp it a second time if you need to, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. I got a little bit too much powder on there, and the ink didn't make it the whole way through the powder. So we're just going to stamp this a second time. And that's the beauty of a stamping platform like the Misti, is you can stamp it as many times as you need to get that, that nice dark sentiment. So now we're going to cover that generously with the Gina K embossing ink, or embossing powder, sorry. And then I'm going to use my Wagner heat tool to heat this up. You don't have to use a Wagner heat tool. You can use whatever heat tool you have. I just happen to have the Wagner. I got this from it's either Home Depot or Lowe's. I think both of them carry it. And so that I don't burn my fingers, I use a pair of needle nose tweezers to hang on to my image. So we're going to go ahead and heat this up. It's good to let your heat embossing tool heat up a good 30 seconds or so before you use it. And that's what I'm doing right here. I'm just letting it get a little bit warm. And it's always recommended that you move your heat tool around so that you don't scorch your paper. It's real easy to do. And you can't see it very well on this video, but the black ink is turning from just the black ink to be shiny with the melted powder. And there I'm trying to show it to you. You can see it's a little bit shiny. Okay, and now we're going to do the last steps of the card, which is just mounting this piece onto the yellow mat. And I was debating here whether I wanted to matte this in blue or maybe matte it in some green. And again, to me, this is one of the hardest parts, is deciding which colors to matte everything in. So I decided to go with the green because it matches the bear's rain hat and his raincoat. And again, I'm just using the Barely Arts glue. I put a good amount on the back just to make sure that this card panel stays down, because this will be going through the mail and I don't want it to come apart. And now I just eyeball this to line it up to get that little tiny border on it. And then I'm going to trim the other side and the bottom to make it even. And now we'll take that matted piece and we will put some glue on the back of that. And then we will line that up on the yellow card base. And again, enough glue so that this does not come apart in the mail, or for hopefully years after the recipient gets it. And now we're just going to eyeball this to line it up, and it's probably not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Like I said, this is not about perfection, it's just about making a cute card. And that's it. That's our card for the day. Now, a little bit extra, if you have a Wink of Stella pen, it's basically a glitter pen. You can add some of this to your card and it'll make different parts of your card a little bit sparkly. And so I'm going to do that on a little bit of the umbrella and probably on his hat and his raincoat. And it just gives it, it's kind of like the heat embossing. It just gives your card a little something extra. And you can use as little of this as you want, or as much. I sometimes get carried away, and before I know it, the entire card is covered in Wink of Stella, but who doesn't like a little bit of shiny, right? So basically, my general rule of thumb with the Wink of Stella is where I have my dark highlights at in my coloring, that's the areas that I like to apply the Wink of Stella, because it makes those areas stand out a little bit more. So I'm just going to go through the rest of this coloring and add the Wink of Stella. And I also do like to put it on all the flowers that are on my cards. But I'm just going to go through and add it to all of the areas where I've put highlights. And then it makes those areas a little bit shiny. It's a little hard to see on camera, but it's there. One of the last things that I like to do with my cards is I like to stamp the back of them with a custom stamp that has my name on it. I get my custom stamps from Magnuson. They have all kinds of custom stamps that you can choose from. And they will also, if you have your own illustration, you can upload that to them and they'll make you a custom stamp of your illustration. But for my first ones, this is the first ones that I've ever ordered from them, and I just use some of their pre-made designs. This one is Winnie the Pooh, and I believe it says hand stamped by, and then I had them add the name Maureen to it. And that's how I like to finish off my cards. And that's it. That's our card for the day. So thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.